one that was deployed during the holidays. Quickly, describe what that feeling is like.
Yeah, I mean, it's bittersweet, right? I mean, you want to be with your family, you want to be home, but you know why you're there, and you get this amazing moment to... Everyone's in the same boat. The entire unit is stuck on a base or stuck on patrol. I did it in Guantanamo Bay. We delivered eggnog, on a four-wheeler. And then in Iraq, our first sergeant dressed up as Santa Claus and went out on patrol. I mean, you find funny ways to sort of make the fact that everyone's away happen. So we've asked you to send your photos, and you have on Christmas Eve. We really appreciate it. Brian Stephen Ainsley, you should email us your Christmas photos.
Yes.
friends@foxnews.com, and maybe we'll show them on the program.
I'd love to see it. Ainsley's little girl is the cutest thing ever.
She really is.
Lots of pictures of her.
That's right. But we've got some news this morning as well. President Trump, fresh off a working Christmas weekend at Mar-a-Lago, already has his eye on bipartisanship this morning.
Griff Jenkins joins us live in D.C. with that and what is ahead. Hey, Griff.
Good morning, guys. Well, the president and First Lady may remain at Mar-a-Lago through New Year's, but that doesn't mean they're not back to work. The president already tweeting this morning. He says, based on the fact that the very unfair and unpopular individual mandate has been terminated as part of our tax cut bill, which essentially repeals over time Obamacare, the Democrats and Republicans will eventually come together and develop a great new health care plan. That certainly suggests that we could be looking at another run at doing something on health care. And that's not all. The president also saying that he wants to tackle infrastructure, something he believes could get bipartisan support, trying to fix those roads, bridges, and tunnels across the country, which are badly in need of repair. Meanwhile, the White House says the president has also invited Speaker Paul Ryan and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell to Camp David in January to make sure they are all on the same page. And that long list of things to do also includes defense spending, immigration, DACA, what to do about the children brought here illegally, and disaster relief, something that they didn't finish, $81 billion to fix the problems left by Mother Nature. And lastly, guys, yesterday down at Mar-a-Lago, the president and First Lady were providing hundreds of meals, including turkey, stuffing, and gravy for Secret Service members, military, and local law enforcement who are working on Christmas. One law enforcement officer saying, didn't want to be quoted, but he said, listen, what he did was just amazing. So it's back to work and time to get busy.
Oh, it's very cool.
Griff.
I mean, the man owns an entire resort, and he can open up a ballroom and feed all the guys guarding him, because while he gets a Christmas, they're out there, like so many law enforcement, first responders, everybody working on that day. A great gesture.
It's a very respectful gesture.
All right, guys. If America and the world were a sports team, America, would get the C for being the captain, because we're sort of in charge right now, and we are leading the way on so many fronts. And so I want to ask you, there's really two things. One, it's the embassy in Israel, and two, quite frankly, with the United Nations chipping away at their bloated infrastructure. Let me ask you, first to the Israeli embassy. What does it mean to the world when we step up and take a position where we say, this is what we're doing, this is the way it's going to be? What do you think that does for us?
Well, it's the only way anything really changes, and that's why the big news out this morning is the fact that the Israelis are reporting, Israel's reporting that up to 10 countries may actually join us in moving their embassies from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem inside Israel. And it's because without America taking that step, especially in light of the anti-Israeli, anti-Semitic view that most of the world takes, that's never going to change. But now that we recognize reality, the eternal truth that Jerusalem is the capital. You've got Guatemala, a few other countries have said they will, and then 10 others that are still anonymous right now, potentially in talks to do that. This is America first in action. This is American leadership. Leadership is not voting with everybody else. Leadership is not saying you're going to do something, which has been U.S. policy forever, and then not actually executing it. President Trump took the bold step. Others follow real leadership. That is what America first looks like.
Well, and that anti-Israel bias you mentioned is also shown at the UN. And there was, in fact, 100 senators that had signed on to a letter back in April expressing that concern of this anti-Israel bias. But now UN Ambassador Nikki Haley and the Trump administration is saying no more. She's actually said that they're going to cut $285 million, and she put out a statement, and what she said was, we will no longer let the generosity of the American people be taken advantage of or remain unchecked. You can be sure we'll continue to look at the ways to increase the UN's efficiency while protecting our interests. So this is a really important step, because far too long have we seen Congress, we've seen presidents complain about the UN, and now Nikki Haley as a UN ambassador is saying, you know what, we're actually going to take action
We're going
on
to spend
yeah, we're going to roll back the funding. So, you know, if you want to vote against us, you want to try to embarrass us on the national stage, well, guess what? We're rolling back our money.
We're going to take your name, and then we're going to take our wallet out. And yes, my wallet is...
You got to check out this thing. It's amazing.
It's a $100 bill. I got it at the dollar store.
You can hand that over to me.
I kind of like it. No, I won't be handing it over to anybody.
I'll hang on to that.
But the reality is we have a big wallet. We fund 22% of the UN's budget. And by saying we're going to take $285 million and pull it out of the budget, that's a significant statement. And it says we're not going to stand back and be lambasted by this body. We're not going to take a step like move our embassy, then watch you take a show vote to make us look bad, and then just sit back and take it. It's a total indictment. Yeah, here's the wallet, by the way. It's a $100 bill. But I got it for $1. It's a total indictment of the international system, which at this point is rigged against free countries like the U.S. and Israel in favor of smaller countries that want to impugn us. That's what the UN has turned into.
Well, can I ask you this? Why, under the Obama administration, for those 8 years, did we take a, oh, we're scared, sorry, we're U.S., sorry, we're big in the world? Why did we take them when we act with a measure of strength? The world respects us.
Well, and it's also, this is President Trump following through with moving the embassy, following through simply with what so many presidents said that they were going to do, as I mentioned earlier in the show. You have President Clinton, you have President Obama, you have President George W. Bush. Congress has also said as much. So you have so many people saying that this is exactly what should be done. And now President Trump is saying, we're going to get this done. We're going to follow through on those promises.
To answer your question, it's because Barack Obama was baptized in the Blame America First policy in academia and elsewhere. I mean, he doesn't believe America is exceptional and a leader in the world, and therefore he pulled us back from the world. It's that simple. So, and President Trump has very much changed that.
Another never Trumper is Senator Jeff Flake, or at least Senator for another couple minutes. And he had the following to say with regard to the 2020 race for the White House. Take a listen.
I do believe if the president is running for re-election, if he continues on the path that he's on, that's going to leave a huge swath of voters looking for something else. He's probably inviting a Republican challenge as well, but certainly an independent challenge, yes.
And when asked about whether Jeff Flake himself would be in the ring, he said, I don't look that forward ahead, but he didn't say no. To Mr. Flake, I asked the question, you are projected to lose Arizona, your state, by tremendous amounts of votes. You think you're then going to go, win the presidency?
Well, and Todd, you took the words out of my mouth, because Senator Flake was expected to have a tough primary, expected to have a tough general election. So it's sort of interesting for him to be making those comments, considering the fact that he himself was going to face a real uphill battle electorally.
Find me this real big swath of Republicans that don't like President Trump. If you've been to a single grassroots event or talked to any voters that don't live in the island of Manhattan, you realize there's an incredible amount. His support amongst his base is even stronger today than it was before. So maybe in some think tanks, maybe in some newsrooms, maybe some Republicans that want to be loved by the left-wing press, they'll say, oh, President Trump is terrible, we're going to run against him. There is no swath of voters. They're not there. They're going to get 1%, 2%, 3% in a primary and get beat by Trump if the president continues to do what he's doing right now. So these are foolish words from a never-Trumper who's never going to give up.
And to that point, Pete, you have a situation where you go to these parts of the country and you realize President Trump is beloved by these people. He can't do a lot wrong. And while you may say, okay, everybody in the Republican Party is realizing now, they weren't all on the Trump train originally. They have gotten on the Trump train because they see if they don't, this doesn't behoove them for their political career.
Senator Flake just didn't get
that. We're being told to move on, and we need to hear the headlines. So, Jillian, what do we need to know?
All right, guys, so we're talking about extreme weather. I mean, we're talking it's cold in New York, but a lot of places across the country are dealing with extreme whiteout conditions. Blizzard-like weather pounding the Northeast and Midwest right before millions of Americans head back home after Christmas. The Boston Logan International Airport almost impossible to see through a blanket of snow. And more than 21 inches of snow hitting Erie, Pennsylvania, breaking a Christmas Day record. Drivers in St. Louis, Missouri navigating slick roads for their holiday commutes. And as a result of that weather, a packed JetBlue flight skids off the runway coming in for a landing in Boston. The plane slipping and spinning 180 degrees before finally coming to rest. Passengers say it felt like the plane was doing donuts, but they praised the pilot and crew for how they handled the situation. Everyone on board the flight from Georgia safely evacuated. The plane had to be towed to the terminal. It wasn't pretty, but it doesn't matter because the Philadelphia Eagles now have home field advantage throughout the NFL playoffs.
Direction made from 35. That one's heading down the middle and good with 22 seconds.
Yes, kicker Jake Elliott sealing the deal in the fourth quarter against the Oakland Raiders. The Eagles go on to win 19-10. And to the AFC, the Steelers dropping a lump of coal in the Texans' stocking. Pittsburgh running all over Houston 34-6. But the one bright spot for the Texans, take a look. An amazing touchdown catch by receiver DeAndre Hopkins, batting the ball around, then turning around just in time to make the grab. As I was reading that, I heard some boos from behind me over there.
Because you're insufferable right
Pyro.
now. You're completely insufferable. I mean, it's ridiculous.
I'm hopping on the Vikings.
I'm hopping on the Vikings.
I'll see you in the NFC
because I can't cheer Eagles. I can't do that.
I'm a Redskins fan, but we're no threat to anyone.
Let's be clear. No kneelers on the Vikings. I don't know if the
no kneelers on the Eagles.
Really? Okay.
Fist raisers. No kneelers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kneel free. We'll take it. Thanks, Jen. Appreciate it.
Coming up, also a potential shakeup near the top of the FBI. Could Deputy Director Andrew McCabe's possible retirement end the Russia investigation? Texas Congressman Louis Gohmert joins us live to react next.
A potential major shakeup towards the top, very top of the FBI, as Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, otherwise known as Andy in those text messages, is reportedly set to retire early next year after being grilled on the Hill twice for 7.5 hours about anti-Trump bias within the agency.
We have GOP Congressman Louis Gohmert, who is a member of the House Judiciary Committee, who's with us now to give us some reaction to that announcement that he may retire. And of course, Andrew McCabe has been at the center of great controversy. His wife was the one that received political donations from Governor Terry McAuliffe, a close Clinton ally. He was also part of that email exchange between Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, talking about the insurance policy as well. So what are your thoughts on this potential retirement and what it means for the overall investigation?
Well, I sat in on questioning last week of Andy McCabe, and that was supposed to be confidential. I won't betray that confidentiality, but he doesn't remember some things the same way that Mueller and some of the others do, but he can't go fast enough. Anybody that has that much disrespect for the Republican Party, for the President of the United States, this goes way beyond just having a political opinion like everybody does. This is things that affect your judgment. So Mueller, I have said since day one, since he was appointed, he's bad news. He's out for a scalp. He would love to get Trump's scalp. He would love to be the hero of the left to take out Donald Trump. He will do everything he can to do that. And Mueller is not going to be deterred by these people falling around him. He wants a scalp, and he'd love to get POTUS. If he cannot get the president, he will, like we've seen, he'll take a Mike Flynn, and it was kind of sad the way that all happened.
Sure.
But we're in some dangerous water right now. Mueller's going forward.
Congressman, take us behind those doors. I mean, I would been very fascinating to watch any portion of those 7.5 hours. I know you can't betray confidentiality of what was said, but some of these public things we've talked about, the donations to his wife's campaign, the text messages that refer to insurance policy, what he did in the Clinton email investigation, I assume all those questions were asked. And what was your overall takeaway, his disposition? I mean, did you walk away really mistrustful, or was he able to answer some things?
Well, from things we already knew, I carried in some distrust. What we know is factual about Andy McCabe. He sounded like he was very straightforward, but like I say, he remembers some things very different from some of the other people who have made public statements. So, and he has given some information that needs further investigation to see if he's right about. But the impression is that my impression is since the day Mueller went in, he has not been the upstanding, fair guy that people have painted him as being. He did more destruction to the FBI. He weakened the FBI more so than J. Edgar Hoover or anybody ever did. He purged the training records of anything that offended radical Islamists. He weakened us of our ability to see, for example, the Boston bomber. They went out and talked to him because of Mueller. They didn't know what to ask. And he persistently shows just disdain toward people who are very conservative.
Well, and Congressman,
he's a problem.
Real quick, do you have faith in Mueller?
No, I have no faith in Mueller. I haven't from day one. And in fact, I don't know if you can see that, but that was taken in June by somebody else, I was telling the president, you have got to appoint a special counsel to investigate Mueller, Comey, McCabe, Lynch.
You've been ahead of this the whole time, Congressman.
Yeah.
We've got to leave it right there, unfortunately. But we'll come back to you
as
this develops.
There's a lot of work yet to do.
Appreciate it, Congressman.
And we have Mark Steyn next as well. Thank you, Congressman. Mark Stein's next.
Time now for some quick headlines. A topless woman tries to swipe the baby Jesus from a nativity scene at the Vatican. I wish we could tell Hegseth and Stein right now. They're having a blast. The feminist activist was tackled by police just hours before Pope Francis's Christmas message. And a holiday fireworks celebration goes terribly wrong, he tried to say. Take a look. Yeah, that's not cool. At least 22 people, including 6 kids, burned in central Cuba when those fireworks started exploding uncontrollably. The display, part of a traditional Christmas Eve celebration. Hopefully next year's tradition will not include the injuries and the just general explosions.
Thanks, Todd. Well, the U.S. cutting $285 million from the UN's budget, from our contribution to the UN's budget next year. Ambassador Nikki Haley vowing, quote, "We will no longer let the generosity of the American people be taken advantage of or remain unchecked. You can be sure we'll continue to look at ways to increase the UN's efficiency while protecting our interests."
Here to break down why this is a good move for America is author and columnist Mark Steyn. Mark? First,
Mark.
Merry Christmas.
Hey, happy Boxing Day, as we say in my cultural tradition.
Quickly, what is Boxing Day?
Boxing Day is the day when you traditionally give a box of Christmas gifts to your servants. I gave my necktie to my footman this morning,
understood.
which is why I celebrate Boxing Day.
You're such a giver.
Well, it is generous.
Speaking of giving, we are not going to be giving as much to the UN, and the UN's not going to be having as much. $285 million out of their budget. Why is the actions that Nikki Haley took, obviously through the president, why is this so important?
Well, I think the problem with the UN is that it was the Second World War victory parade preserved in aspic, and that was a great idea in 1945. The majority of members didn't exist as independent nations in 1945, and now you have a situation where essentially the dictatorships vote en masse, vote as a bloc. The 58-member Organization for Islamic Cooperation, for example, is a monolithic bloc, and the democracies are outvoted. And half the democracies are anyway just people who strike attitudes, like the European Union did mostly with the Israel vote. And so it's simply not an effective vehicle for America. And America, by the way, just to accentuate the cultural differences, you guys aren't imperialists. So when you found yourself top dog in the world in 1950, instead of having a conventional empire, you set up these multilateral institutions to work through them. And one of the results of that is that you diminish your own voice and you bulk up all these pipsqueak poses.
What impact do you think it's going to have? Because the Trump administration is clearly sending a message to the UN. Will it have an impact?
Yeah, I think it will. I think if he's serious. I mean, Trump is the one guy who would do it. If you think of previous Republican presidents, the first George Bush was the kind of guy who could name off the top of his head the deputy trade minister of the South Sandwich Islands. He thought multilaterally like that. And George W. Bush was a bit like that. But Trump I think, is serious, and he's the one guy who could actually roll back the UN. 22%. Why should one nation fund 22% of the costs of a club with 200 members?
And then get outvoted and indicted by that very club.
Yeah, exactly. So these guys all have their stupid anti-American vote and then stick U.S. taxpayers with the tab.
It's an important moment for sure. Another thing the president has been very serious on is immigration, specifically illegal immigration, and especially chain migration, as we learn now that 2 more terror suspects were brought into the U.S. through chain migration. Do we need any more proof that our immigration system, legal immigration system as well, well is fundamentally broken.
Well, look, if you have chain migration, you don't have an immigration system, because 70% of immigrants to the U.S. come through chain migration, which means the United States has effectively no say in them. All countries have the right to select who they admit within their borders. If you have chain migration, you don't have this guy in Pennsylvania, for example. He's an Egyptian, this latest jihadist. He's an Egyptian who is a distant relative of some guy who came 2 generations ago. They're basically self-selecting. That's a huge security flaw for any nation.
Well, and we've also seen the visa lottery come under scrutiny as well. But do you think Congress is going to act on this? Because for some of these changes to be made, it's going to take an act of Congress. Right. So is there the will in Congress to make these changes?
And how is this not a layup for Republicans? How have they not absorbed what the president's talking about in light of this?
Well, because it's I think it's a situation where the donors outvote the voters in a way. But this is an 80% issue. If you're an American citizen, citizenship has its privilege. You don't give it away in a lottery. It's not like tri-state megabucks. That's ridiculous.
Mark, I hate to bring this next subject up because I don't want to ruin your New Year's Eve plans with Rosie O'Donnell. But there's a little fight going on right now between Paul Ryan and Rosie O'Donnell. Paul Ryan tweeted this: at the end of each year, no matter how short or long it may feel, there's always Christmas waiting for us, as that sense of wonder the shepherds felt when the angels appeared in the night sky to herald the birth of a savior. To which Rosie responds, Paul Ryan, don't talk about Jesus after what you just did to our nation. You will go straight to hell. You screwed up. Fake altar boy. Hashtag Judas much? Go.
She basically walked in on his nativity scene the way that topless woman did, and picked up the baby Jesus and smashed him over the head with it. Look, I don't know whether Paul Ryan is going to hell. My vision of hell actually is being trapped on a long elevator ride with Rosie O'Donnell. The best thing, if you're a Democrat, the best thing that Democrats could do to sweep Congress, win the 2020 presidency, would be to send every minor celebrity with a political opinion to an atoll off the Falkland Islands for until November 2018. They would sweep the House, the Senate, they'd get everything. These celebrities are killing them.
Well, the good news is that people are going to want to hear more from you, and they can tonight because you're actually filling in on Tucker Carlson tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's the season of guest hosts on the 12th day of guest hosts.
Why do you think we're here?
Yeah, I know. Fox News gave to me Pete Hegseth in a pear tree. It's terrible. Everyone hates the guest. Everyone hates the guest.
You chose the wrong line of work because that voice of yours. You're the songbird of our generation.
Well, no, all just guest hosts though. What? We're all replaced. Aren't we all just guest hosts at the end?
Well, I'm actually in the amalgamated union of guest hosts. We have an annual conference, and the chairman never shows up, so someone has to fill in for him. That's how it works.
Fittingly so.
Yeah. Good luck filling those New Year's Eve plans without Rosie.
Yeah, happy Boxing Day.
Good to see you.
You got it. All right. Wall Street opening for the first time since the Christmas holiday in about an hour. Can the markets move even higher? We are live at the New York Stock Exchange next.
And first, teacher in California into a sanctuary state. Now, Governor Jerry Brown has a new gift: get-out-of-jail-free cards for dozens of inmates, illegal immigrants included. Exclamation point. More on that when Fox and Friends returns here on the day after Christmas.
It's back and running today, and after being closed for Christmas, of course.
Nicole Pedalides. I messed it up, Nicole. I'm sorry. From the Pedalides. You know I know you from the Fox Business Network. Joins us now from the floor of the stock exchange on if the surge can continue. My friend Nicole, take it away.
Good morning to you. I told the I-Man, I told Hannity, Pedalides, like a box of Wheaties. Very simple, right? You got it right. Let's talk about what we're seeing this morning, my friends. Well, we're seeing the Dow Industrial Futures right now. The futures are looking down about 44 points as I speak. However, it has been an incredible year. This week will be a light trading week. Obviously, some people will be away, but we will get some economic news later in the week on confidence and some manufacturing numbers. But big picture, what a year it has been for the 401ks and IRAs, and we get in America's tax bill right at the closing bell at the end of this year, so that's a big one as well. Right now, January, when we wake up, we have a new tax bill. February, people will start to see more money in their pockets because the withholdings in their paychecks will be less, so they'll have more money. So that's for about 84% of Americans. And then for the markets, for all your 401ks and IRAs, we've had a great year for 2017, and since the election, the Dow's up about 35%, but this year 25% So it's been a stellar year. And then when we look at the names that really drove the Dow, Boeing, Caterpillar, United Health, Apple, 3M, these have had an incredible year. Boeing up about 90%, Caterpillar 67%. But fundamentally, we're doing great. We're doing great, guys. We're talking about earnings, the economy, the labor market is doing very well, home building, the 10-year bond has been on the rise, and now with repatriation bringing back billions and billions of dollars, maybe as much as $400 billion, that will help to boost the U.S. dollar. So nobody even sees this thing stopping. I'm sure some of you have some of the greats in your portfolios at home, including Facebook, Tesla, Apple. Those names were up more than 50%, Boeing 90%, McDonald's, Microsoft, Google. These have all had an unbelievable 2017, and when I talk to these traders, they don't see any reason why it just won't continue in the new year.
Let's keep it going.
Bitcoin, maybe that should be the one you should.
Words.
A little caution.
I'm looking at it right now. Bitcoin up $800 in the last 24 hours.
Right, it's about 15,000 this morning. I mean, it is so volatile. It is like a roller coaster ride with the white knuckles. People are using they're looking up how to use their credit cards to buy Bitcoin.
Yes.
Well, don't do it. And we're a great American company. Buy the S&P 500. Go American. Get some good companies under your belt. I don't know. It seems a little flaty.
And we're thankful to have you, Nicole, to break it down for us. Thank you.
Nicole Pedalides, live from the floor of the New York
And now
Stock
we also have Jillian Mealy to break